to not have to live in denial of those things and to try to learn how to be your authentic self, and best self is a worthy pursuit. I mean, the most worthy. That's really what it's about. If you treat yourself well and you act in a way that you find admirable, then you're going to get that from yourself. I think that's an important distinction you just made, because it's like separating to say, I'm a horrible person or I hate myself, as opposed to I hate what I did, or, I regret what that's a different thing. Separate yourself from the action and go, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't like what I did, but still have love for yourself. You have to forgive yourself. In this world, you have to kind of really work on that. You have to learn how to be honest with yourself and be willing to sort of just look at the ugly shit and confront it and just separate and go, okay, I can remove this.
Welcome to the Collaborative Resource Hub by Wellness Provisions. Our mission is to bridge the gap between mental health, wellness, and music, specifically rock and roll. I'm Amy McBride, owner of Wellness Provisions, the most badass wellness business. Wellness Provisions supplies rock and rollers with high-quality supplements. We give you a trustworthy place to go where you can essentially shop blindfolded. Our wellness kits were created out of a need to simplify your shopping experience and make it stress-free. You'll get the most effective nutrients in the least amount of bottles with the least trial and error. Immerse yourself in the Collaborative Resource Hub by going to our website, where you'll have access to helpful resources that can nudge you in the right direction. Let's inspire each other. If that guy did it, so can you. Find the Collaborative Resource Hub interviews on YouTube, all major podcast platforms, and subscribe to our newsletter to stay in the loop. Last but not least, my legal disclaimer: nothing in this interview or the Collaborative Resource Hub substitutes medical advice. Please connect with your GP if you need medical guidance. Eric, hi. Thank you so much for taking time to sit down and chat with me.
And thank you, Amy, for having me.
Yeah. So we're going to get into good old wellness and mental health kind of stuff. But first, I'm curious. So you play guitar and you've played with a lot of different groups. You've done your own thing. What are some bands that you've really enjoyed playing with?
I loved playing. I had a trio for a long time, power trio, just Eric McFadden trio, with this extraordinary, one of a kind, like upright bassist, James Whiten, and a couple of different great drummers came through. Paulo Baldi, he plays Les Claypool and Cake and stuff like that, and so Kevin Carnes. So that was like kind of my real love for a long time. That band, my passion, and a band called Liar, one called Alien Love Stock. But more recently, bands that I was less the front person in, that were pretty profoundly, pretty great experiences were, George Clinton, Parliament Funkadelic, which was like being on the road with a circus, and that was kind of an honor to be part of that whole, P-Funk legacy.
How long were you with them for?
Maybe 3.5 years.
Oh, wow.
I really kind of loved most of the stuff I've done, because I wouldn't be a part of it if it wasn't something I thought was worth putting my time into. Eric Burdon, another old school kind of, Eric Burdon and The Animals was a great experience. And a band called Stockholm Syndrome. We had been talking about that before the interview. Dead Confederate had done some touring with us.
Okay, that was the band.
Yeah, with Stockholm Syndrome, right? And so it's a lot of stuff. It's something that my partner now is a pretty remarkable songwriter, musician. I was a fan of hers before we were together. That's kind of what led to us. I think my interest in her was that her name's Kate Vargas. And, I saw her at this festival that we do together before I knew her. And I was just really blown away. And then lo and behold, here I am with her. And I got to play her new album. So that's a handful. I mean, there's a lot of people I've collaborated with or played with, in a more brief capacity that I love. Blag was on here, the Dwarves, and Reverend Horton Heat and some of our old school buddies, that I've enjoyed doing stuff with. I don't know. I mean, it's probably a pretty long list, but I think I've enjoyed playing with a lot of people over the
That's
years.
awesome.
Among my biggest heroes, I'd say would be Joe Strummer as far as people that I've done stuff with, you know.
That's badass.
But yeah, it's been quite a ride, and I've been alive for a long time, so you know, a lot has happened, and I even remember some of it. So
Well, congratulations. That's good.
yeah,
So that's a great segue into, I guess, the meat of this. Was there a point when you realized that you had to prioritize yourself?
yeah, but you know, that was a slow road for me because I'm really good at sort of ignoring, denying, and suppressing things, difficult things, you know, and so what I thought taking care of myself was for a while was just pretending that all the traumatic things that had happened or all the difficult things just were not happening, or you know, just ignoring them, right, or pretending it was fine, like that was a long time ago, you know.
Yeah.
But because for a long time a lot of this stuff that turned out to be very destructive for me seemed to really work well, you know. It seemed like alcohol was like a lifesaver for me. At first it helped me overcome my sort of inherent shyness, and made me less inhibited, so I could actually talk to girls, or I could get on stage, you know, or so it really kind of opened doors for me, and then it became sort of a great detriment to me,
Yeah. A
you know.
dependency.
So I think there was a point where I did realize that I needed, that alcohol was not serving me, and that it was killing me, and maybe having adverse effects on my career as well and my health. And so I did get sober for a while, but I didn't really address too many of the other like actual root causes, like why I drank. So there was still problems, you know, there were still
Mhm.
problems, and I was able to get away with eating a pint of ice cream a night and every night and not have it not really show. So I was, you know, I thought I was doing all right. Uh, so, but then after years of trial and error with that, with drugs and alcohol, I did get to a point where I realized there was more to mental and physical health than just abstaining. You know, you
Mhm.
have to also do things. It's not just what you don't do, but it's what you also implement
Yeah.
into your life and routine. You
What kind of
know,
stuff did you incorporate like early on that really started making a difference? And what kind of stuff, are you still doing from that?
early on, I mean, abstaining was helpful. You know, but um, and I did add a certain amount of physical exercise to that, or try to take some kind of vitamin supplement, you know, for a while. But even that fell off after a while, and then eating habits got worse, and you know, and then it got to a point where I realized that I had not ever really done therapy, and I had, and there was, and for a while I think there was this, like there's this stigma about it, right? Like, but that there's something wrong with you. You have to get really defensive about things like that. I don't need therapy, and that's for crazy people or people, but you know, which is absurd. I mean, I don't know if I've met a person that couldn't use therapy, you know.
We all
So
have brains and we all have feelings and we all have pasts. So yes,
yeah,
like
we're
everyone
all
should
and
be,
we're all human. Therefore, we're all fucked up. Just in, you know, we can't help that,
yeah,
and we live in the world, and the world itself is insane. So, and we're infiltrated with so much every day that it's impossible not to be affected, you know, by it.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, we need help, you know,
Yeah,
and I'm really glad that I finally came around to that. You know, it's sobriety has been helpful, and it's helpful in having better relationships, being a better person, being a better partner, or a better friend, or a better whatever you know you are. I mean, to
yeah,
anyone, someone, and to not have to live in denial of those things, and to try to learn how to be your authentic self. You know, and best self is a worthy pursuit. I mean, the most worthy. Why not do everything I can, you know, in the interest of that?
yeah. Do you have a lot of forgiveness for yourself?
Well, I'm starting to. I'm learning how to, because for a long time now I just pummeled myself, you know, and would just let myself plummet into the, you know, depths of darkness and the shame spiral of doom, you know, and all that. And you know, I did this terrible thing, and I'm, you know, and that. So, but That's not productive. I mean, it's not, nobody really, that doesn't make you, that is certainly not improving things for you or anyone else in your life by succumbing to all that shit.
Yeah,
So I've
and
learned it.
it's like a distinction, like this happened,
Yeah,
it's not it's not who you are, it's just something
yeah,
that happened, but it's not you. Like there's a
right. It's
story.
not you. It's something you did, and I think that's an important distinction you just made because it's like separating to say I'm a horrible person or I hate myself as opposed to I hate what I did, or I regret what that's a different thing. Separate yourself from the action and go, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't like what I did, but still have love for yourself. You have to forgive yourself, and I think having capacity forgiveness is an admirable trait for yourself and for other people.
Yeah,
But you have to start with you for sure, and have some compassion for yourself. When you talk to yourself, when you say fucked up shit to yourself, like I'm worthless, I'm suck. Fuck me. Eh, would do you talk like that to your friends? I mean,
right,
no.
right.
So, at least try to be a friend to yourself. Don't say
Yeah.
fucked up shit to yourself.
Yeah, it's true. We all slip into that. I mean, even if you have that awareness, it's easy to just, yeah, we're hard on ourselves. And
Yeah,
another thing, looking at it is, would you say it to a friend? Also, if you picture yourself as a child,
right,
like a little kid came up to you and, whatever the scenario is, said that, how would you respond to the little kid? Like,
right.
same as
Yeah, you wouldn't call the little kid a piece of shit. I would hope, right?
right.
I mean,
Otherwise,
maybe,
you're going to end up in therapy.
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's really, I think, because that kid is in us, and my attitudes about things early on, even when I thought I was so open-minded and thought, um, progressive in my thinking, I wasn't as much so as I'd like to believe or pretend I was, because I mocked things that right now I really embrace or try to embody, to some extent I would, this,
Like what?
well, I would see people with self-help books and talking about their inner child and stuff. And I'm like, what kind of like new age shit? I had my judgments about it, and, and now I'm like, well, yeah, cool. That's great. It's, because we do that lives in you. You are that. You're still that kid. We still of the things that affected us as children. We still are. That's deeply ingrained in us, and we still respond to that. And we respond the same way that we did when we were 6 to a lot of
Hmm.
things, essentially.
Hmm.
And especially things that we don't address. If we, if things that we, uh, we're people I think are generally pretty. We're just naturally, inherently self-centered, self-absorbed because we are the center of our universe.
Yeah.
And we're also really great at self-deception, and denial. So, and that's sort of a protective thing, right? Self-deception, right? But so we're all pretty dishonest, and we have to, I think in this world you have to kind of really work on that. You have to learn how to be honest with yourself and be willing to sort of just look at the ugly shit and confront it and just separate and go, okay, I can remove this. I can get rid of that, you know,
Mhm.
and peel away the bullshit and just kind of reveal your authentic self and best self that way.
When you have gone through that process, did therapy kind of like jumpstart that? Did you do a lot of journaling? Like, how did you like delve in?
I kind of went in all the way. I mean, I'm still way in that process. I'm so far. You know, I'm, I'm, I'm way better off than I was, and I'm
Yeah.
still a total fucking mess. But the, it was kind of sobriety and kind of getting into that, embracing true sobriety, and trying to really work a program and try to like really be honest with myself and do some inventory and really do that was a big part of it. But also therapy kind of went along with it. It was kind of all happening really in the same time frame when I started to really take it seriously. I kind of went across the board with it, also with eating and everything else, with diet and all that. So,
Yeah.
and that was all pretty recent as far as really like trying to make this more of a lifestyle, like really change. a major across the board change. That's been pretty recent. I've made attempts at it, here and there. I've been successful to some degree, but it took me a while to get to this point. Now, I don't recommend waiting as long as I did. There's no reason to uh, I
Yeah.
mean,
If someone is, if they feel, because I feel like, because I've talked to some other people where like they're rock bottom, they thought it was here, turns
yeah,
out it's not here, it was like down here. And I feel like, yeah, it's like whenever, like you reach a point where it's your time to
yeah, yeah,
yourself. And so like I think being in tune to yourself to hear that, to figure out what those cues are.
yeah. That's true because you have to. Yeah, you might look at somebody else's rock bottom and think that that's not bottom, or you might think that wow, I'd never get, like that's insane. Like it took you all of that, and because I've also looked at people and thought, wow, if I did the things that you did, are you kidding me? I would never,
Yeah.
you know, drink again, or I would never do drugs again. But
Yeah.
I don't know that either because it's not my experience, and I don't know, but it's different for everyone. And yeah, what I thought was my bottom before wasn't, you know. I had to get there. Then I'm like, oh, so this must be it. Nope. But
How many rock bottoms did you have? Several?
I've had a few. I've had
Yeah.
a few. Yeah, but I like to think that maybe I've hit it this time, or the last time.
Yeah, yeah. What other changes have you started incorporating this time around, like as lifestyle changes?
Well, besides the 12-step thing, besides therapy, besides I've done like, well, physical exercise, implementing that, like definitely changes in diet and eating habits. Some even like I've even tried being medicated, not self-medicated, but my partner, she's doing some supplements, which I am starting to try to like figure out maybe what I need as far as that stuff goes.
Which ones? Because that's my area of expertise.
Yeah, I
So
was looking at some. I'm thinking about because you were talking about like mushroom stuff, and like that's one thing I really wanted to kind of talk to you more about and explore. Like, and
yeah,
then she's got collagen, or what is that, right?
yeah. Did she put it like in her coffee or like a smoothie or something?
I'm not sure. Maybe various ways, but
Yeah.
so there, I'm just sort of trying to get into. That's another frontier I'm trying to explore.
Mhm. It can
Might as
get
well.
overwhelming quickly. So just,
Yeah,
dip your toes in here and there because
yeah,
there's yeah, there's a lot with different kind of supplements and people often I feel like they need like everything at once and like you don't. You don't.
yeah. I don't need to go insane, right off the bat,
Yeah.
but that's just definitely, something to think about because I've kind of delving into all the other areas, and also I think that with the mental health stuff, that like with the current situation, if you already have issues, there certainly were exacerbated by the effects of COVID and this reality, right? Um, so, initially, as a guy that was touring for 90 to 95% of the time, and having that just halt, that you can't deny that's going to have some kind of effect on you.
Mhm.
But I've definitely, I think, made the most of it and used it to my advantage the best I could, at
Yeah.
least thus far. And
What was your perspective change?
well, I think it was, at first, initially perceiving it as the worst thing that could be happening. I had a new agent, manager, new record label, and all these great tours booked and festivals lined up. So I was thinking things were looking really good, and then that was halted. So my first thought is, well, this is fucked, and I'm screwed. So,
Yeah.
but then shortly after that, I did have to come to acceptance because when something is completely and utterly out of your control, beyond your control, it doesn't do you much good to just wallow in anger and self pity about it. That's not going to solve anything.
Hmm.
So I think it would serve me to just accept this is what's happening. What do you do about it?
Yeah.
Or what can I do? And I took the opportunity to do a lot of stuff that I've had a really good excuse for not doing. And I could always sort of say, I'm too busy, I'm on the road, it's too hard to do, So I thought,
Now you have no excuses.
yeah, no excuses, right? And there was things that needed work, like how to be in a relationship and be actually a good partner to somebody. Why not work on that? And also, all the other stuff, the mental health stuff, the physical health stuff. Well, I don't have any excuse for not trying that out. So it really turned out to be a great advantage, and it probably, in retrospect or in the long term, added some years to my life. And certainly, if I can be a better person in the world,
Hmm.
people in the world, and my life, then that's a good thing, right? So
Yeah. And I
so
think too, like when stuff resumes and you start touring again, and like you'll have the right tools to know how
yeah,
to stay balanced and how to stay still
yeah,
connected and present in your relationship and stuff too. Yeah.
exactly. Now I can go back out there and do this, and I go, oh wow, this is a whole new, and I have a whole new approach to it. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff that I was getting that I wasn't getting anymore. Like that, I was filling voids too in other ways. I mean, it's a beautiful pursuit to play music and the whole catharsis of it and the therapy and all that. But there's also that validation and like, like why am I inclined to go out and subject myself to this scrutiny and judgment by getting on stage in front of people all the time? Well, it's because there's also validation and love and praise, right? So it's like, I want that. I need that. I need to feel worthy. I need to feel like I'm useful. I need to feel, yeah, validated. So
Yeah.
you get that, but then not being on the road, I'm not getting that. There's no applause and there's no people telling you you're wonderful and all that shit. And so I'm like, wow. So I need that stuff, huh? Like, but the thing is, I need to learn how to get that for myself, but also and that's also really just sort of a way of like not having to deal with your other shit if you're using it, if that's where you're the only place you're getting it, then maybe that's something to address too.
Yeah.
um,
So how are you feeling? How have you started feeling that lack of validation from the outside?
just by trying to give it to myself, like by doing if you want, like as it's been said, if you want self-esteem, do commit esteemable acts, right? And if you want to feel good about yourself, don't do fucked up shit. If I don't want to feel shame and remorse and regret and self-loathing, then don't do shit that makes me feel that way about myself. If it makes me feel bad to lie, be dishonest, then maybe I shouldn't be dishonest. If it makes me feel bad to, so I think that's really what it's about. If you treat yourself well and you act in a way that you find admirable, then you're going to get that from yourself.
It's very simple. The
Yeah.
simplicity of that is amazing.
It is pretty simple in theory, but
Yeah.
it's, getting there is a process.
Yeah.
I'm not there, but that's where that's the direction I'm moving in anyway.
Yeah. But you have the awareness, and I feel like, I mean, that's like the root of everything is if you have the awareness, then yeah, you might slip up or some days might be really challenging or whatever, but like you can process it much more efficiently than you could have before.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's really the key. What you're talking about with awareness is essential. I mean, everyone thinks they're aware and no one is really. It's like, you know, I thought I was self-aware and I only have enough self-awareness now to realize how unself-aware I
Yeah.
was and am.
But that's a good point too, is like we definitely go through phases of growth,
Yeah.
and they all build on each other. And so like if you want to get to here, you have to start here.
Right. There's no shortcut really. Yeah.
Hmm.
I've been looking for shortcuts my whole life, but you know,
Yeah, how's that worked out?
they usually set me back. They have the opposite of the desired effect. You try to take the shortcut and then you're just back where you started again, or worse. So, not
Yeah.
recommended.
Yeah.
You just have to just like another one of my other. Well, I'll bring this up later too, but um, a quote: "If you're going through hell, keep going." And I think that's kind of the thing. It's like keep moving, keep moving through it, and then you
Yeah.
will get to the other side of it.
Hmm. And I mean, like, I was just talking with this counselor, a therapist in England, and it just what that just made me think of how, like, because she deals with a lot of people with substance abuse issues and cravings. If you have a
Mhm.
craving, it's going to pass. Like
Right.
10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, like it's a wave, and ride it out. And same thing, same going
That's
through
right.
healthy going.
It's like when you're feeling that, like you overwhelming, like compulsion or something, most times we're not thinking in that moment, hey, if we wait 10 minutes, I'll probably be okay, you
Hmm.
know? And
Hmm.
it's always like when you succumb to that shit, it's always pretty like immediate, right?
Yeah.
You give it
And
a
that,
while.
yeah. So it's the mindfulness of like, because I mean, even for myself, like I'll get like an email or something that it stresses me out, and I want to do the immediate, like, fuck you reply. And then
Yeah,
I'm like, but now I know that that's my go-to. So I'm like, just stop, breathe, walk away. Like I have trained myself,
yeah, yeah.
like rewired my brain to just like, just go back to it. And when I go back to it, I'm like, oh, that wasn't as bad as it seemed.
That's the thing, though. You learn to pause once you figure that out. That you don't have to be reactionary. You can be responsive. It's like that can do you a world of good because, and that's the thing that would happen with alcohol. There's just reaction, and there would be no pause or no, it'd just be something happens and that's why I would get in confrontations with bouncers or promoters at gigs who didn't pay you, and then it turns into the police are there, and whatever, something's getting smashed, and that kind of stuff was not it never was like you woke up the next day and felt good about how you handled that. It's so yeah, there's a lot to be said for allowing that pause, that space,
Yeah.
before reacting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I was gonna say then it's like there's still like a whole like I've had where people around me, or if if it involves other people, where they're like they still are like badgering you for like right now, right now. So getting other people to give you the space when you need the space. Sometimes you just
Right.
gotta walk away. Like just literally just you have to leave and ignore them for a minute.
What you're saying too is standing up for yourself. Like I think this idea of too of which maybe starts out as a protective thing too, of like what they call people pleasing, right? I guess, which I certainly had no idea how much I did that. To avoid confrontation or to just to sort of not rock the boat,
Mhm.
or to of course, when I was drinking, it was a lot easier to rock the boat, not give a shit, and just rock the boat. But the idea being that you and it kind of started out as a way of wanting to be accepted, like because in school, if you're different, like I didn't look like the other kids, and I was, and I was already up against a lot, so it was harder to fit in. So you try to be more agreeable or
Mhm.
funny or something that's going to endear people to you, so that you're not ostracized or outcast, right? And that was sort of one of the wonderful discoveries of punk rock, was that, oh wow, it's a bunch of outcasts. So I was like this little Jimi Hendrix wannabe with my fro and my bandana, and I loved, my Zeppelin and and I still do, and all that, and
Yeah.
my Sabbath. And then these punk rock kids, who were the small group, kind of befriended me and said, they were like at lunch, listen to this, and they're putting on Dead Kennedys and Black Flag and the Clash and the Sex Pistols, and I was like, that was a new world, but it was also like you could be accepted. It was just like they were misfits, right? So it felt comfortable and it felt at home, and also with my angst and my anti-establishment, rebellious, and feelings at that time, it was well suited to me, right? But it also felt like I was easily accepted into that,
Mhm.
and there was less judgment there for being whatever you were, and so that was kind of a safe haven there for a while, So in a way, like when Mike Watt said punk rock saved my life or saved our lives, whatever. It's like I identify with that, and that was Anyway, I almost veered off there because I could digress, and I remember meeting the Minutemen at 18 and how my relationship started with Mike Watt, which is really a story into itself. The but they were pretty instrumental in that sort of change in my direction in life too, in that regard. And I think that but this doesn't mean I lost my people pleasing issue trying to. But then I was like always sort of in at battle with it too. There was also that because sometimes in opposition to that, I would just be like, "Fuck you and fuck the world too," right? I don't care
Yeah.
what you think, but that's just really a denial of the fact that you do care very much what people think. you know?
Often, yeah. When it's like,
Yeah,
ah, fuck this, I don't care, that means you do. And it's just like you don't know how to process those feelings.
exactly. Yeah.
Perfect. So now when I edit back in, you'll have your glasses on and people will be like, what just happened? Okay. Do you do any meditation or anything like that?
Yeah, I guess when we were talking about what sort of things I started to implement in my life routine, I guess I left that out, but that is a daily thing too. And I used to think I used to get really frustrated with meditation because I was like, I can't do it. But I think it was also kind of presented to me wrong. When somebody finally came like said to me that no, you're not, you can't, because I thought you really just had to clear your mind and like not think about shit. I'm like, that's impossible, and it is apparently. So it's not. I think the expectation was wrong. So I felt like I was a failure and I couldn't meditate. But now that I have a different understanding, a broader, more accurate understanding of what that is, yeah, then some days are better than others. Sometimes you feel like only 10% of the time were you really in it. And
Mhm.
other times you do better. But the point is just to keep doing it, and that it actually does make a difference. It helps me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
If you don't meditate for a period of time or something, like do you notice a difference in yourself?
I do. Yeah, I just feel like it does take me a little more out of my ability to be present, or aware. I think that building awareness and being able to sort of learn how to live in the moment and be present is largely, for me, is largely contingent upon how much time I spend meditating. So yeah, I definitely notice, and I need it because I can really be, you know,
Everywhere, ADD?
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Do you use an app or music, or do you do it in silence? How do you do it? How do you meditate?
You know what? I was, well, first I would just try to do it. My friend Jenny Kerr, she's a great musician. She kind of got me to do this, start meditating and just on my own. And she would have me think of this like spiraling thing in space, and it worked. And then Kate turned me on to Headspace, but then she gifted me, and Headspace worked well for me too. And then she gifted me this thing called Fit Mind.
Okay.
Have you checked out Fit Mind?
Mm-mm.
Wow, this really kind of took it to the next level for me. And so I got this app, and it's this guided meditation thing. It takes you through all these stages of it, sort of different types of meditation, and then all these lessons to accompany it. Sort of philosophical lessons and social sort of insights and studies. And so it's really interesting. It's educational, but because there's two parts to it. There's the meditation, and then there's there's the training, and there's the lesson.
Yeah.
And that's been a really useful tool. And so what I do is I've gone through all of that, and then I'll sometimes meditate without it, just so I don't feel that I'm absolutely dependent on guided meditation all the time.
Hmm. Hmm.
You have to learn to kind of just start doing it on your own. But that's what's been working for me anyway
Cool.
so far.
Yeah. Do you have any other words of wisdoms or something that you wish you knew back then, or anything insightful? Anything else insightful?
You know, I wish I just didn't fear the truth so much because I think if you just like we're in pain because we're in, because we're running away from things, right? And we're trying to hide them, suppress them, deny them, right? Then that causes us pain. What we're not realizing is it's self-inflicted, right? It's most of our pain and suffering is self-inflicted,
Hmm.
and it's largely also trying to avoid. We're trying to avoid something, right? Avoid the reality of the truth of what's happening, and to examine things because that's painful,
Hmm.
But that pain is going to lead you. That's the pain that's the path out of suffering. That's the road to freedom, right? Freedom from all that. But but the irony is that we're so afraid to face that pain to get to the other side of it that we just stay in this pain, which goes nowhere but down, you know.
Yep.
But I think that just being able to just say, you know what, not be afraid of to be introspective and to just examine yourself, you know, I think that's important. So just to try to learn, you know, how to be aware of what you're feeling and to address your own fears and insecurities and all that stuff and your own past traumas is going to be the best that you can do for yourself. I've found out that drugs and alcohol, probably not a good idea. I mean, from what I've experienced and seen, you know.
Yeah, it opens, it's like Pandora's box to a whole other mess of problems that just keep compounding.
Yeah. So being true to yourself, if you want to be, you know, just be loved or hated for who you are and not who you're not, because there's no real satisfaction in you know people loving you for being a fraud. That's
Mhm.
not, you know.
Yeah. And that's another good point to remember is you can't be liked by everyone. And it's okay if people don't like you. And if
Yeah,
you're,
who cares?
yeah, it,
I don't give a fuck. It's like I'd rather be hated for being myself than loved for being somebody else. You know,
yeah,
not
it's
for
true.
being a fraud.
Hmm.
So
And
anyway,
I just saw something, I don't know if it was a quote or what, but just the idea that like, if you have enemies or, just people that don't like you, then, um, if you got them from standing up for something you believe in or, like, yeah, just your truth,
yeah,
that's awesome. Cause then you're honoring yourself.
that's right. You're honoring yourself, and to know what your convictions and beliefs are and your values is not as easily, you know. I mean, it's not like everyone does.
Hmm.
Are you willing to be the one person in a room of 10 that is in disagreement with everyone else because you're standing up for what you believe is right for your own convictions? You know, even though you'll be very unpopular, you know. So that's a real strength. That's something to aspire to.
Yeah, that's that's what I do.
Yeah.
I'm that person. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. And it's not even, it's just, and that's not even a denial thing. I don't, because it's like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't, I don't know how to bite my tongue, I guess. I just have to
But
think.
that's good because you are an advocate. You're the kind of friend people need. You're the, like, if you see somebody doing, if somebody's being, you know, like if you see somebody being misogynistic or racist or abusive or somebody doing something, and that's what we use. That's they need people that are willing to stand up for that and sort of like come
Mhm.
to the rescue. That's kind of a responsibility that we should have as human beings, is to
Yeah.
stand up for each other in that capacity for ourselves and for each other.
Yeah. And I don't know. I don't know if it's like, because I look at it as like it's strength and it's willpower, or it's just it's confidence. I don't know if it's something that you're born with or if it's something that you can learn over time. I guess just the more comfortable you get with yourself, or
Mm-hmm.
if it's just like the punk rock thing. It's like, when I had a mohawk walking down the street, honestly, I didn't even notice people staring at me,
Right.
because
Yeah.
it's just like I'm just living my life doing my thing.
You're not concerned with it. You're not like focused on that. Right.
Hmm.
And that's the thing. It's like if you're willing to be your true self, to be, you know, your authentic and genuine self, then good. That takes courage, and you know, it's not like you don't have concern or care for how you impact people in their lives, but to be concerned with what they think of you, you know, overly concerned is not, you know, it's going to lead you towards trying to alter your own sort of ideology and thinking and behavior to suit them rather than yourself. You
Yeah.
need, you know, so just give a shit about you know what you believe and think and be true to that. You
Yeah. It's good. It's good. It's good words to live by.
know, yeah. But
uh,
living by them, saying the words is pretty easy. Living by them is quite another thing.
mhm.
You know, and we can't fail to mention the awesome healing powers of rock and roll, you know, also, right? Because we've had that, and that has been a saving grace, a savior in our lives. But what I realized is it doesn't fix everything. I thought rock and roll was the cure all. Well, it's not. It's the cure a lot, but it's not the cure all, you know? It's,
It's the cure a lot.
yeah.
What is your favorite quote?
I know that said earlier the one about, if you're going through hell, just keep going. But there's and also, like, it's hard to have a favorite quote, but the one that did resonate with me from a while back, especially being in music, was the Hunter S. Thompson quote. The music industry is is a cruel and shallow money trench, a long plastic hallway where pimps and thieves run free and good men die like dogs. And there's a negative side. So, you
Yeah.
know, uh, but there's so many great quotes. There's probably some that might be more like, our internal, selves, rather. That does seem a bit like an external thing,
Yeah,
but
but it still speaks to you.
right, but it still speaks to me. And so we'll just go with that one for now. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Do you have anything cool coming up this year or in the next few months?
There's a lot of cool stuff coming up that I don't even know about yet. And, but I know it's going to be cool. Well, the coolest things, because we're just kind of gearing back up for in this capacity, getting our careers back on track because we took time off, right, from the music, not voluntarily, but but we did get, like, Kate Vargas, my partner, her new album, which is quite brilliant, is finished and it's going to be released, and I had the pleasure and honor of playing on it, and that's going to come out soon, like, a few months, and it's ready, just about ready for release, and they're starting the whole promotional thing. So it's going to be called Rum Pum Po, Kate Vargas. I'm really excited about that. And then I've got, we also do our live stream every Monday, 8:30 Eastern time on Facebook Live. So that happens Mondays. So that's always coming up. I started writing, getting a new album together. So, there'll be a new Eric release coming out soon, and a duo release with Kate. And then I've got, like Doug Wimbish, who played on one of my last albums, will be on it, living color bassist. And so those are some cool things coming up, I think. Also, I've got a single and a video coming out for a song in a couple months. So that should be, or maybe less than that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So there's a good number of, things in the works, so
That's a lot.
yeah, yeah, there's something happening,
You're
you know,
keeping yourself busy. Good.
yeah, we got, yeah, have to.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Like, it's sort of, yeah. To be a musician is kind of like, well, if you were to choose those lifestyle to pursue music as a career, it's like an insanity in itself. I mean, if you don't have to, then you shouldn't really. It's like, if you have to do it, you're insane not to. But if you don't, you're insane to do it. It's like, I think that's how I look at it.
Yeah.
So, you know.
If
So
it's in
yeah,
you and it's in your blood, then yeah, you have to honor it. And if it's just like, oh, that'd be cool, and it's like a dream that you're not willing to like bleed over,
yeah, you have to make a sacrifice. Yeah, you've got to be willing to fucking suffer, eat shit. But but it's worth it. I mean, if you're compelled, it's not really a choice, right? You just have to.
that's it. I mean, it's just who you are at that point. And like
Yeah,
life doesn't exist without that in it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Cool. Wise words. You got anything else?
If I do, I just can't access it right now. But I'm sure there's plenty that'll come. I'll think of as soon as we're done here. But
Yeah, yeah.
it's there's always more in there somewhere, isn't there? We're just.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing, your experiences and your thoughts and your perspective.
I
It's
hope there
cool.
was something helpful in there. You know.
I think so.
Well, it was great talking to you. I appreciate what you're doing, and I really enjoyed conversing with you. And we'll keep in touch.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you, Amy.